Okay, up next, I'd like to introduce Jay Byers, the CEO of the Greater Des Moines Partnership, the regional economic and community development organization. Jay currently serves on the executive committee of the Iowa Chamber Alliance, on the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives, Executive Board, Board of Directors and Community Growth Education Foundation, the General Counsel of the World Chambers Federation, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Committee of 100. Byers also serves on the boards of Simpson College, Greater Des Moines Convention and Visitors Bureau, Greater Des Moines Committee, ChildServe, and the Homestead and Drake University's International Advisory Council. Everyone, Jay Byers.
Well, good morning, everybody. You're not going to play any Johnny Cash while I talk? No, I guess that means no. No Cubby Bear? No? Okay. Well, thanks, everybody, for coming. Really appreciate it. This is a great opportunity for the Greater Des Moines Partnership to be part of this event and to do our part to help build the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Central Iowa. As Kaylee said, the Greater Des Moines Partnership is the regional economic and community development organization serving Central Iowa. We currently are helping lead economic development in 8 counties. We have 23 affiliate chambers of commerce and more than 6,000 members. We're actually the 4th largest chamber in the United States right now, something we're very proud of. So all of you who are members, thank you for your support. We really appreciate it. First and foremost, for those of you who know me, wanted to make sure that everybody knew what the hashtags were for today: Accelerate DSM and DSM USA. It's really important that we all help tell the story, not only of what you're learning today, but to tell the great stories that are happening in the startup community here in Central Iowa and across our great state. So hashtag Accelerate DSM and DSM USA. Please use those today. It's somewhat ironic that I'm being asked to help kick this off because I'm probably one of the least techie people in this room. But as a CEO, I have learned that the important thing about being successful and leading an organization is know what you know and know what you don't know. Surround yourself with smart people who can tell you the right things to do. And that's what I've tried to do within the technology space. And this room is loaded with people who have been my advisors. And I'm going to be mentioning a number of them today, because my remarks today are really going to focus on the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Central Iowa. Some of the things I think we've done pretty well and some of the things that we can do moving forward to continue to build on that success. In fact, since not only am I one of the least techie people here, I'm still one of these guys who likes to wear a tie to work every day, so I'm feeling a little bit naked, but just for you, I did not wear a tie today. And actually, the real entrepreneur in my family is actually my wife. I'm not sure she's here yet right now, but she'll be here today. Is doing some extraordinary things as well, so if you get a chance to meet her, she's much smarter and more interesting than I am and knows a lot more about startups than me personally. Let's see here. My clicker. Is this my clicker? Okay, let's see if I'm smart enough to figure this out. Apparently not. All right, here we go. So I'm going to start with a book recommendation. How many people have heard or read this book? Clearly not enough. I'm guessing most of you have heard of Brad Feld. Those of you who have not, we had the opportunity to bring Brad Feld to Des Moines a number of years ago when we were still doing the Think Iowa conference. I'm not sure if Jeff Wood is here yet. I know he's registered. But Brad came and did a presentation and also and met with folks at Startup City. But this book is still really stood the test of time to really lay out a playbook in terms of what communities can and should do in terms of building up their startup community. So if you've read it before, go back and read it again. If you haven't read it, take a chance to read through it and kind of look at those sort of pieces of advice that Brad gives different communities. And I think as a whole, this community has done a pretty good job of implementing a lot of those strategies. But again, there's a lot of those things that are mentioned in there that we could do a better job of. But again, this is the book recommendation that I think all of you should take a chance to read if you haven't done so. When you look at startup ecosystems, there's a lot of different components to it, whether that's universities, funding, service providers, research, the existing companies, and what are you doing to build out that ecosystem. And again, you've seen lots of charts like this, and again, those are the things that we need to do. All of us in this room play an important part in that. At the partnership, in terms of our economic development arm, we really have sort of three missions. One is to recruit new companies to come to Central Iowa, help existing companies expand, and to build out that entrepreneurial ecosystem. So we've really been trying to be very thoughtful and deliberate in determining what our role is to help build that out. We in no way try to, we know we can't do everything, but we know we can do some things well, and that's what we've tried to do in terms of sort of accelerating that startup community in ways that we think are a wise use of resources and can really propel the Central Iowa forward. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about those, and then I'm going to spend some time thanking a lot of other people in this room who have done some really extraordinary things that are not within the partnership sort of family of services and programs, but really have played key roles in building up our entrepreneurial ecosystem. So Business Innovation Zone, this is what Square One started as. Mike Colwell over here has done an extraordinary job for us. He came to work for us in 2007. Mike and I share something in common, that we both grew up in Iowa, left the state, and came back as boomerangs because we wanted to come back and help build this state in this region. And Mike has done a really extraordinary job. We rebranded as Square One DSM recently, and sort of augmented our services with our own internal accelerator, and Mike continues to do a great job building up those programs. But our initial goal is, we're all about ROI at the partnership. So our initial goal was, we wanted a 10-to-1 ratio of capital raised by clients to the amount of money that we've invested as an organization. And since its inception, it's actually been closer to 12-to-1 in terms of that ratio. So Mike, congratulations on all the great work you've done, and I think the numbers speak for themselves. Mike has assisted by the close of last year. I know these numbers have increased since then. 538 companies, $24 million of capital raised. This is an extraordinary number. So great job to you, Mike. One of the things that we're focusing on this year, we brought on a new staff member, Christina Moffett, who I'm hoping a number of you knew from her work at the SBDC. She's extraordinary, doing a great job. And we're focusing our efforts this year in helping more military, women, and minority-owned startups, and Christina is helping lead that effort as well. So hopefully you'll get a chance to meet her if you've not already done so. She's already doing some great things, putting together some really great programming and recruitment efforts. Startup City Des Moines. How many people remember, how many people were ever in Startup City Des Moines when it was still in existence? Startup City changed it all for Central Iowa. I know Tej Dawan is here, a real oracle in terms of what has happened in this community. Christian Renaud, who I don't think is here, but the next time you see either of those guys, thank them. They changed it all for Central Iowa in terms of putting us on the map, in terms of, I mentioned Brad Feld, in terms of putting together a lot of programming and excitement. The first real accelerator that we had here in town, co-working space, in terms of what they did to get this community to believe in itself and to drive some really impressive national and international stories about how Greater Des Moines was an emerging startup city. So this was a great run at 3 years. The companies that went through, a number of them are still having some successes. A lot of us got our start and got our teeth cut there. And what I was able to learn from Christian and from Tej is immeasurable. So again, if you get a chance to thank those two, do it, because what they did for this community is immeasurable. One of the lessons that I think we collectively learned from Startup City was there was a lot of talk when Brad Feld's book came out that everybody wanted to be the next Silicon something, right? We want to be the next Silicon Valley. We want to be Silicon Mountain, whatever. And really, when you take a step back and you look at Silicon Valley is Silicon Valley for a reason. In many ways, it's classic cluster development, right? That's been going on 50, 60, 70 years. Strong defense industry, semiconductors, Stanford, microchips, all these great companies that has built over the years. You just don't create something, you just don't become Silicon Valley, right? You got to figure out what you're really good at. So what we decided to do, taking great advice again from Mike and from Tej and from others, is what can we do to merge what we're really good at with our sort of target industries, and then really try to dominate within that tech industry, within those lines of business. And so early on, as Startup City was winding down, internally we had the goal of creating two accelerators. One focused on the insurance industry, one focused on the ag industry. And we had to kind of stack those in orders because it took a lot of time to raise the money and to sell people on the concept, and decided to go first with the insurance accelerator. So Mike and Tej and I, and I'll give Mike and Tej all the credit for developing the blueprint for it and the deck for it. And I said, you tell me what to sell, and we'll go out and we'll sell it. And we went and talked to 25, 30 different insurance companies and ended up getting 7 to say yes to fund it. Hopefully a lot of you in this room have been to the Insurance Accelerator or are familiar with it. I know Brian is here. Brian's done an amazing job leading it. We've now graduated 18 different companies, 7 from outside of the United States, and it's based on the Techstar model, again, something developed by Brad Feld and his colleagues. We recruit globally, 40K on the front end in exchange for 6% equity, 100 days of intense mentoring, and they graduate now at the Global Insurance Symposium. This is another event that we helped organize in conjunction with the Iowa Economic Development Authority and the Iowa Insurance Division. We hold it actually in this room, take out the divider, and we do demo day graduation with the accelerator in front of this year 600 top insurance execs from across the globe. It's all about customers. It's all about viable products. So a great success story, something that of the things I've worked on in my career, one of the things I'm absolutely most proud of. So based on that model, again, turning Mike and Tej loose, came up with this Iowa Agritech Accelerator model. We went back out on the fundraising circuit about a couple of years ago. Mike and I and Brent Willett with the Cultivation Corridor ended up getting 7 companies to say yes, same model. We are currently recruiting that first class. The first class will start in July, and we're excited to partner again with the Cultivation Corridor, and graduation is going to be at the World Food Prize this fall in conjunction with Harvest. We're very, very excited about it. It's again, merging existing industry, putting startups in front of customers, paying customers, and it's really that merger of existing industry with the startup community with what we are really good at: ag bioscience, agriculture, insurance and financial services. That's been the bread and butter of our core economy. We think we can make the case that in those core industries that we're the best in the world, and we want to dominate tech within ag, we want to dominate tech within insurance. Another initiative that Mike and Tej helped launch, Plains Angels. I know a number of people in this room have been engaged with that, either on the legal side, on the accounting side, on the investing side. Since inception, we've had 17 companies that have been invested in, and you can see the numbers here. Member investments, $3.4 million, and the venture capital co-investments, $1.8 million. If you are not a Plains Angel investor and you do meet those requirements, we'd love to have you be part of that group. And if you have companies that are interested in making those pitches, again, bring those to Mike and Tej, and they help filter those requests. 1 million cups. How many people have been to a 1 million cups event? I try to go whenever I can. We are one of the sponsors of that, but one part of the history of 1 million cups, this was a great initiative started by the Kauffman Foundation. Meg Schneider from our office, who is actually not here today, she's in South Carolina, but we were the first place outside of Kansas City to host 1 million cups, and this has been a great opportunity for us to showcase the startup community, for startup community to get together with creative collisions, and continues to meet on a weekly basis at the Science Center of Des Moines. It's free. It's a great opportunity. If you don't participate in that, I highly encourage you to do that. I try to go whenever I can, and I always learn a lot. Iowa SourceLink, this is another initiative that the Greater Des Moines Partnership helped bring to Central Iowa. Again, a partnership with the Kauffman Foundation and UMKC. We launched Central Iowa SourceLink a few years ago. The state liked it so much, they took it over, and now it's a statewide product. This is an online product that I would encourage you to utilize. Another initiative that we've been working on is a global DSM strategy. Part of that is attracting more foreign direct investment, helping companies to export more, and also to attract more international talent. And you might ask, well, what's that have to do with the startup community? If you look at the stats, immigrants are 28% more likely to be entrepreneurs than native-born citizens. We feel if we are successful in attracting more international talent, that's going to result in a number more startups just based on those statistics, and we're very excited about that as well. The numbers in Greater Des Moines, as compared to the rest of the state and nationally, have been really strong in terms of our ability to attract and retain international talent, and we're going to continue to focus on those efforts. We've also, I'm going to mention a couple of other things, some of which we sponsored before, but a lot of some really great things that have been happening in this community. CI Week, I don't know if any of you ever participated in that, but that's led by DMAC on the West Campus. Tony and his team do an awesome job with great speakers, a lot of times focused on startups as well, so that's something that you should take advantage of, and kudos to DMAC for their leadership on that, bringing in top-tier speakers. Gravitate, I know there's a lot of people in here. I don't know if Jeff is here, right now, but he and his team and everybody who's participated, that's an incredibly important part of our community. Kudos to Jeff for really taking that leadership on after Startup City closed. And having that startup, the co-working space, and now a second space in Valley Junction. So great job to Jeff and to Gravitate and all the great programming they do. Again, important parts of our ecosystem. The Makerspace, I don't know if anyone, how many people have visited the Makerspace here in town? You need to go visit. It's right across from Central Campus. I drive by it twice a day. These guys are doing great things. I think this is one area that I intend to help focus on, get our manufacturing industry across the state more engaged in makerspace, like we've done with agriculture and with the insurance industry, because again, I think that we can make that much more robust. Other cities have done that, but the folks who have worked on it have done a really nice job, so stop by and check it out sometime. I'm just, again, going to mention some of the other important parts of our ecosystem. I'm going to leave some out, not by design. I'm just going to mention some. The West Des Moines done a great job with their incubator. I know there's folks here from Drake, their entrepreneurship programs, the Papa John Center. They've done some extraordinary work and are really doubling down their efforts. University of Iowa has done amazing things, Venture School being one of them, Papa John Center as well, lots of other things. You look at what's happening at Iowa State, the Ag Startup Engine, which is gaining a lot of traction, the Startup Factory. That must be my DJ. Awesome. So again, great things happening in Ames, part of the Central Iowa ecosystem. I know there's a good contingency here from Simpson. I'm a Simpson alum. Todd's here, but Emerge and other things going on at Simpson. Congratulations on the work that you're doing. Technology Association of Iowa, one of our sponsors, doing some really great things. Brian and his team have done an amazing job building up this organization. The Prometheus Awards, which are held in this room, is a great way to celebrate not only the startups, but the existing industries that are engaged with tech. I think that that's really important, and that's going to be a theme that you're going to continue to hear from me. How do we get existing industry to support what's happening in the tech industry, to understand each other, and to invest in startups as well? And I think the Technology Association of Iowa at statewide level has done a really nice job helping bridge that gap, and kudos to Brian and his team, and really proud of what they're doing. Startup Weekend, we've done a number of those. Through a lot of you have been part of those, and I think those are great things. Again, these are all sort of things that Brad Feld sort of outlines in terms of things that are important to do. Code Day, hackathons, makers events at Science Center, new organization helping to promote coding here in Central Iowa, things like Tech Brew, startup drinks. All these things are important with building the community. The funding side's very important, things like VentureNet, AIM Seed Capital, Next Level Ventures. Again, lots of others in this room who have been heavily engaged with that. That's not meant to be an exclusive list, but we need to continue to build up those forms of capital on the seed level and the venture level to continue to be able to fund all these great ideas that all of you have. Iowa Innovation Corp, again, a great sponsor today, and plays an important role in building up the ecosystem across the state. The media has been an important part. I know Silicon Prairie News is here again today, but in terms of what they've been able to do to raise the discussion and to help tell those stories, and now also organizations like Clay and Milk, and what Jeff Wood is able to do with Welsh Avenue, and what Gravitate's doing, and what the partnership's doing to help tell those stories, what we're able to do with social media. It's important to tell the stories because no one is going to tell our story for us. We need to tell our stories, we need to tell each other's stories, and we need to celebrate those wins. This is all about Moneyball. This isn't about hitting grand slams every time. We got to get up every day and hit singles and doubles and continue to tell those stories, and that's how you win games. Greater Des Moines has had a really nice run in terms of a lot of really nice national rankings. In terms of sort of startup rankings, here's some of the more recent ones. But again, going back to the great work, foundation laid by our friends at Startup City in terms of helping pitch these stories and continuing to build those stories, tell those stories. That's an important mission we view at the partnership, to tell all of your stories and make sure that everybody across the country, across the globe knows all the amazing things that are happening in Central Iowa startup world. Rise of the Rest, Steve Case, he brought his tour here, and there's actually just had his big conference in DC a couple weeks ago. I know that there were some Greater Des Moines people who were out there, but really another book I'd recommend is The Third Wave, which is Steve Case's new book, but it really talks about the sort of Rise of the Rest movement and revolution and how places outside of Silicon Valley are the place to be for startups. It's not about creating the next Silicon Valley. It's what are the advantages of markets like Greater Des Moines in terms of being a great place for startups, and makes a great case for that. So there's a movement out there, and so I guess my call to action to all of you is what are the things that we need to continue to do to build up our startup community. I think we've got some examples of some great things that have happened. I think we all know we've got work to do. I think we all need to make sure that we look at the startup scene as not as carving up the existing piece of pie, but we need to make the pie bigger. We need to bake more pies. We need to support each other. We need to support each other's events. We need to support each other's programming. I think often in terms of the startup world, that it attracts competitive people that are take no prisoners people, and sometimes that there's some clashing in terms of personalities, but I think we need to get above that and need to support each other and identify those opportunities that we have as a region. And all the things that I mentioned, we need to figure out how to double that. We need to figure out how to triple that if we really want to make this community what it really can be in terms of its potential for startups. And so all of you have great connections nationally, internationally. What are some of the things that other cities are doing, other regions are doing that we can do, that we can use those ideas that make sense for Central Iowa? Our goal is not to become someone else. Our goal is to define who we are and be the best at it. But there are a lot of great lessons that we can learn from other communities and from other startup experts from across the country. So that's partially why we're here today. I know we're going to really focus on what we can do in terms of learning from folks for our individual businesses, but I also want you to really think what we need to do as a community to really accelerate what we're doing to make this even a greater place for startups. And again, a lot to celebrate, but there's a lot we need to do. And just wrapping up with this quote by Peter Drucker, my favorite quote, because I think this applies to everything we do. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Nobody's going to do it for us. No one's going to do it for you. You got to look deep. We got to look deep as a community and put our shoulder to the wheel, put our nose to the grindstone, and get it done. And that's what we're committed to doing. I think all of you taking a full day to be here today, it says to me that's important to you. It's important to us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to one of my colleagues, who's also with us today, Tiffany Tauscheck. And she's going to be talking about some of our new messaging. Remember our hashtags, Accelerate DSM and DSM USA, and we'll explain the DSM USA right now.
You got it.
All right.
Thank you, sir. So we'll have
Just
thanks, sir. Can everybody see me? Okay. All right, before we get started on this, if you know the partnership, you know we are all about content, right? So I'm going to take just a quick sweep video of the crowd. I need you all to look alive, awake, exhilarated, happy to be here. Okay, are you ready for this? Smiles, waves, cheers, chants, let's do it. Well done. David, I saw you doing that dance in the back. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to fly through some of this because I understand you may have some questions. We're going to start with, well, I don't know how to go back here. We'll try this. Okay, DSM USA. Who has seen this? I expect every hand up in the air. Okay, we rolled out DSM USA just a few weeks ago. And this we are calling a regional identifier, which is really a fancy way of saying it's a way of us communicating with more cohesion. We know that there are many key messages out in the market. We know there are many brands, there are many initiatives, there are many people talking about all the great things happening in our city. What there hasn't been is one key message that brings it all together. So we spent about 14 months, as Kaylee Williams said, head down, focusing on research, qualitative, quantitative research, to guide us to this, DSM USA. Through that process of research, we learned that DSM USA does two things for us. It really does help, especially with those economic development site selectors, the folks that are looking to build, expand business. It says that Greater Des Moines, DSM, is a city that builds, it's about growth, it's about diversity and prosperity. We heard the word prosperity over and over again, which is great. We also heard from the talent development audience, so those that we're looking to bring to Greater Des Moines, that using DSM to help sell the city or tell our story is cool, modern, and edgy. So to get us to this point, we learned from all of these different audiences that while they're very broad and unique in demographics, they have very similar core beliefs and perceptions of our city. So to overcome the negatives, we heard that we don't have mountains, we don't have oceans, if you don't know that already. And we also learned that we have a great perception surrounding agriculture. Not just the traditional sense of agriculture, but also ag bioscience, tech, innovation. We also learned that people perceive our city as very ethical, very welcoming, thriving. So through this, we arrived at this DSM USA with our key messages, and this is pulled from the verbatims of all of the different qualitative, quantitative research, that DSM, Greater Des Moines, is welcoming, affordable, diverse, vibrant, and accessible. So with this, we launched a new website just a few weeks ago. Please check it out if you haven't already, dsmpartnership.com. This website is 5 websites put together, so we've deemed it the mega site. Phases 2 and 3 of the website will be 9 more websites merging into this website, because again, we're looking to create more of a cohesive message as we are telling the story of our region. When we're marketing specifically to those economic development audiences, we're going to market externally, with growdsmusa.com. So that's that landing page. When we're talking to talent, when we're trying to get people to move here, which by the way, we do very well. US Census data came out with statistics just a few weeks ago showing that Des Moines is the #1 fastest growing city in the Midwest, one of the fastest in the country. On average, 33 people move here every single day. But we need more people. We need more people like you. We need you to help us tell our story. So in addition to this, we're also rolling out some marketing in print, digital, primarily digital, because it allows us to really target and convert those folks, allows us to track, which is always a good thing, right, Mike? So here are some examples of the ads, and these are stock photos because we're really just getting rolling on this. But again, we tested all of these, and we were able to tell from the economic development and talent development audiences what's cutting through. And what really does cut through is that DSM USA message, because adding the USA to DSM says that we're a global city, which we are, and we need to own that. And again, we need your help in telling that story. So with that, as you know, at the partnership, one of our goals, in addition to content, is to tell the story. And not just the partnership story. We want to tell your story. So you have a new startup. Tell us about it. Mike probably already knows, but we want to hear it from you too. You hear about something really cool that's happening or bubbling. We want to know about it so we can help you tell the story. We also need you to tell the story in your own words, and then we will amplify it. So we have a program called DSM USA Ambassadors. It's really easy. All you have to do, go to our website and sign up to be a media or social media ambassador. And then we maybe once, twice a month, we won't spam you. We will send you content, ready-made plug-and-play content that we would ask that you consider sharing on your social media channels and outlets. And in addition to that, we have a DSM USA Facebook group. All you have to do is search on Facebook, DSM USA, and post some content, photos, videos of you experiencing our city. Tell your story. Your story deserves to be heard. Every one of you has a unique story, and that is what makes our city stand out. So as you are sharing what you are experiencing in the city, we'll be then watching that and then post it, reshare it. We also pull photos from those different feeds and pull them into all of our different newsletters to continue to share. So I know we wanted to leave some time for questions, but I will leave you with this. We do have a DSM USA toolkit on our website. If you want to use this logo, you are welcome to. It's on our website. You want to sign up to be a DSM USA ambassador, please do on that website, or you're welcome to grab my card. I'll sign you up, even if you would like. We have more than 200 people already signed up. And again, please use that DSM USA hashtag so that we can tell the DSM story loud, bold, and broad. With that, we'll open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir.
Curious how you balance the identity of Des Moines and how awesome we are as Central Iowans with the connection with the entire state and maybe even regionally as well.
It's a great question, and I think in terms of regions, I always say that regions aren't defined by political boundaries, and they're not defined by organizational boundaries. Really, regions are defined by the economies, right? By commuting patterns, by where people live, where people work, where people enjoy recreation, where they shop, where they enjoy arts and culture. So we've really sort of viewed our region as sort of this 50-mile radius sort of cultivation corridor in terms of focusing on what our work is. And so we've launched this cultivation corridor initiative and working a lot closer with our friends in Ames and Iowa State than we ever have. So that's one of the things we've really tried to do in terms of continuing to focus on what's important for the entire region. Capital Crossroads, which is our regional vision plan, also focuses on that 50-mile radius. And we've got excellent relationships across the state. I think in terms of us as an organization, we just try to focus on what we can do to maximize central Iowa. But statewide, it's important that the other regions in across Iowa are important, right? We need Cedar Rapids and Iowa City corridor to be strong for Iowa to be strong. We need Western Iowa to be strong for Iowa to be strong. We need Dubuque to be strong. Through organizations like we're heavily engaged with, it was mentioned in my bio, Iowa Chamber Alliance, for example, which is the 16 or 17 largest sort of metro chambers across the state, that we work together in putting together statewide agendas that help all of us advance. We're heavily engaged, for example, again, with the Technology Association of Iowa statewide, Association of Business and Industry statewide, and working on those common interests that help all of our regions, regardless of where we're located, to be successful and to find those common ground issues. And so we do our part to do that as well, too. And I'm heavily engaged also at the national level with Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives, U.S. Chamber. Again, there's a lot of common thread issues that are important for the business community, regardless of what state you're in. And that is important because, again, we need the whole state to be strong. Great question.
So we have a lot of good things that are happening in Des Moines. And right now, Des Moines is heading to, I think, murder rates are almost going to be breaking a record. I think I had a statistics that there were over 99 gunshots fired in Des Moines within the last 1 year. And I think about the communities that are experiencing this, experiencing some of these challenges. Is the Des Moines partnership on the table, understanding what are the challenges in those communities, how we can engage the young people to understand, what we can do because, we have all these accolades, but also when we start having these challenges, it does affect whether people want to move here or not.
Another great question. In fact, there's been a lot of discussions on that in the last few weeks, as you can imagine. We have a great relationship with City Des Moines. I meet on a regular basis with our city manager. We've got a great relationship with the police department. Actually met with some of those folks yesterday. We also operate Operation Downtown, which provides extra security downtown. You might remember we're having some big issues on Court Avenue a couple years ago, and helped lead that initiative with the city and the police department and our downtown businesses. And since that time, Court Avenue's that safety record's gotten significantly better. So we're working on some strategies with all those partners, and the neighborhood leaders, faith leaders, others to, this is a safe city. Traditionally, it's been a very safe city. It's been one of the things that's been very attractive for people moving here, and we need to continue to make it that way, and we're going to get in front of this, send that message that this is a safe city, it's going to be a safe city, and we're all going to stand up and come up with better solutions. And there has been a spike this year, different reasons for it, some domestic, some gang-related stuff, and I think that it is important that the business community plays an important role with that, and we will do that.
You have a new hire, Sanjita, who maybe you could talk about her,
Yeah.
what connection she has for this gentleman.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, one of our core initiatives that we announced at our annual dinner was helping to focus on minority-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and women-owned businesses. We also have a new talent initiative that Sanjita is helping lead in looking at our we call untapped talent, right? So that being people with disabilities, ex-felons, immigrants, minorities, folks who, we have this very low unemployment rate, but we all know that there's a lot of people who are still being left out, that are underemployed, that we need to figure out how to get them more connected in the job market, and whether that includes additional skilling up and education. But Sanjita's leading that effort. We've got a number of different initiatives within each of those areas to move the ball forward. It's a big issue, and I think that is a big part of the solution as well. Is what can we do to make sure that some of the folks who may have felt that they're not a part of the thriving economy that we're having here in Central Iowa, how do we make it more inclusive? Whether that's startups, whether that's just on the talent side with finding jobs and training, and that's a big part of, those are 2 of our 5 top initiatives this year from the Greater Des Moines Partnership, and we're taking it seriously. It's hard work. It's why we staffed up, right? We brought in Sanjita, who you mentioned, who's a total rock star on the talent side. A great story in and of itself if you've not met her, and Christina, who's a small business owner herself. These 2 are great, and we dug deep for some new resources to bring in some top talent because we had identified those as 2 big areas of need in our community, and we're going to continue to focus on that. So thanks for bringing that up. Great question.
You mentioned early on the map that insurance and then ag were 2 of the focus areas that we wanted to develop accelerators in. Looking forward, is there anything that you're focusing on in terms of either accelerators or industries that you're really looking to push in the Greater Des Moines area?
It's a really good question. I'll start with a broader answer to that. So again, insurance and financial services, we have 80 insurance companies plus here, Wells Fargo, 15,000 employees. We've continued to build up that ecosystem with the accelerator and the symposium. Ag Bioscience, again, our great companies, World Food Prize, Iowa State, production agriculture, building on those. Those are definitely our 2 strongest clusters, world-class. We'd like to make the case that maybe the best in the world with both of those, and continue to focus on those. But we also focus on other clusters as well with our economic development team, things that we're strong at, maybe not the best in the world, but strong. Data centers have been huge for us. This is with Facebook and Microsoft and a number of others that our team have worked on and helped bring them here and help expand. Billions and billions of dollars of capital investment. I think to continue to explore those supply chain lines in terms of the servicing side of that and what other industries can we use to build off of those, I think is pretty interesting. I'm not sure that an accelerator makes sense on something like that, but I think that that's something that we need to continue to look at. Logistics has been very strong for us, being at the corner or at the crossroads of 80-35, 3 Class 1 railroads, another railroad, international airport. We get a lot of those types of deals with warehousing and logistics. It's a reason why places like Come and Go and Casey's and Hy-Vee are so successful here because of that great access and lots of others. I know there's some, Ankeny is one of our sponsors. Ankeny has been a hot spot for amazing distribution centers, big economic development projects. Manufacturing still continues to be very strong here as well, advanced manufacturing. My definition of advanced manufacturing is basically manufacturing that can still survive in the United States, right? So it's There's a lot of manufacturing in this town and this state. It's still the leading industry in our state is manufacturing, even more so than ag across the state. People don't realize that. And I believe we're still a top 10 manufacturing state. So that when I mentioned earlier the makerspace piece, I think that's something that's underutilized right now. That's one of my definitely personal priorities here in the next couple of years is to help work with them and identify opportunities to get the manufacturing industries and the DMACs much more engaged in that maker movement. I think that's a big opportunity here. And I think that if any of you have ideas on how we can explore that and get existing manufacturers as engaged as we have with the Insurance Accelerator and with the Iowa Agritech Accelerator, I think that that's a huge opportunity. We've also had great success here in the state with wind energy. We'll soon, thanks to investments by Mid-American Energy and Alliant, when they're done, we'll have 40% of our capacity of wind, of electricity generated by wind. That's resulted in a number of manufacturing projects across the state, some in central Iowa, but really all across the state. Southeast Iowa has been big on that as well too, in terms of bringing in actually a lot of foreign direct investment, German companies and so forth, to build the towers, to build the blades, to build the turbines, and still continue to work those supply chains in terms of what's the sort of tech angle. I think is pretty interesting what that could mean. So those are all sort of things that we focus on with our target industries. Again, you can't be everything, and you just need to focus on what you're good at and continue to build off. So I think that looking at those target industries, are there tech angles with those? I think makes a lot of sense. That being said, you also have to have an entrepreneurial ecosystem that is encouraging for all startups, right? So any sort of ideas, and again, another call to action is if you've ever had an idea to start a business, do it, right? You don't wait for someone else to do it. Don't wait till next year. Again, I mentioned my wife earlier. It's like, she's an entrepreneur of our family and said, I got this idea, I'm going to do it. And so she did it. So all of you out there, you all have ideas, your friends and families have ideas. Encourage them to start a business because the key to economic development is wealth building, and you gotta have high growth new industries. You gotta continue to build new industries, new companies, because life cycles of companies don't last forever, right? Well, one of the slides I've shown to our staff, and if you've ever been in the Iowa Association of Business and Industry, which is a great partner for us, in their conference room, they've got most of the big cities in Iowa. They've got posters. I think it was from maybe the 20s or 30s with all the major industries in those cities. And you look at Des Moines, and I think there was only one company that's still here, right? So economies change, companies change. You always got to be starting new companies, growing new companies, because the big names that you see today, 100 years from now, they're probably going to be all different, right? So it's important for us to continue to fill that funnel, start businesses, and if you've had an idea, you want to start a business, the time to do it is today.
Hey, Jay. Oh.
MSA. And that's 5 counties are MSA, and that's on average. So I'll actually quote Joel Ashbrenner from the Des Moines Register. He printed that. He did the math. So we have been using that as a talking point. But on average, 33 people per day are moving here, and that's still not enough. We need more people moving to our city.
So of those 33, how many are from other parts of internal state of Iowa? How many are from outside the state of Iowa? How many are boomerangs and how many are others?
It's a great question. It's kind of hard to track all of that.
You got a great team, Jay.
So there's certain census data that's available, certain census data that's not. So we actually have a data hub where you can track a lot of that information. We'll do a search for you and get that to you. I don't have those exact numbers, but we've done a lot better job of attracting out-of-state people than we ever have before. Certainly, there's people from across Iowa that are still moving here, and quite frankly, in terms of our percentage of foreign-born growth has far exceeded the national average. So that's been really exciting too. So the trends have changed from what they were, right? We're growing a lot faster than we were, and it's not just from rural Iowa, and it's not just boomerangs. Boomerangs are still big because, again, it's people who are familiar with the state, right, when they're ready to start a family and come back, and that's still very important, and we still try to reach out to them. And that's one of the reasons why the social media strategies, there's a big talent piece to this, right, because all of you have friends, family, who have either been to Iowa, have lived in Iowa, or familiar with Iowa, and by helping tell those stories, I hear it all the time. They say, "Oh, I see your social media feed. Des Moines sounds awesome," right? And it's like, well, I always tell the positive stories, and that's our job. But again, there's all these great stories here that people don't know about, and the more that we can continue to feed those stories, the more people know about the great things that are happening here and want to be a part of it. And I think one of the great things, you talk about the rise of the rest and what Steve Case is doing, which I think is extraordinary, because I do believe in it. But if you look at metros the size of Greater Des Moines, it's very appealing right now. I believe, you see we've been ranked #1 place for young professionals, and I think there's a reason for that. And that's because if there's some people who are Xers and boomers who kind of roll their eyes at millennials, and I love working with millennials and the excitement of it's folks who they want to make a difference, they want to be leaders, and they want to do it now. It's like that's people I want to hire, right? Fearless, and when you're in a city like Greater Des Moines and any city across the state of Iowa, we have a big enough mass to have a lot of the big city amenities, but it's still small enough where you can have coffee with a CEO pretty easily, even if you're an intern. You can get engaged with a project and see it to finish in a few months and see your name in the Des Moines Register. And we've got this great portrait that we've been painting, but it's far from complete. We need the ideas. We need more artists. And this room is full of artists, and I think that's exciting to people. They want to be part of something. You can go to Chicago and you can go to New York and you can inherit a great city. They're great cities, they're fun. But to go there and make a difference and to change things, it's about impossible. And so you can come here, you can build something, you can be part of it, you can be part of that excitement, and I think that's something a place like Des Moines or Cedar Rapids or Dubuque has to offer, and I think that's very appealing for millennials, and I think there's something to this rise of the rest, and that's a big part of it, and the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the startup world is a huge part of that. So we're excited to be part of it and hope you are too.
Jay, Tiffany, thanks for all you guys do. Very exciting stuff. I love living and working here and being part of the Drake community. I really like your comment about we need to bake more pies. That's a great meme, I think. I would ask suggest two things. We should bake some cupcakes and we should bake some torts. And by that I mean, I'd really like to see more initiatives to foster innovation or to re-foster innovation, creativity in our children, your children, because most of you could be my children. And I'd also recommend, because I'm hearing more and more international interest in coming to Des Moines or partnering with Des Moines. Can you comment at all on initiatives to reach farther down the age chain and to reach across the pond?
That's a lot of questions for early in the morning. I'll start with the global piece because that has been a huge focus of us in general. You saw the messaging. Tiffany and her team have done an awesome job with this DSM USA, and we've been kind of working towards this for a while on sort of both strategies. But we rolled out this last year, partnered with the Brookings Institution, one of a handful of cities across the country that were selected. In fact, I think we're the smallest market, to roll out really a three-part global DSM strategy, helping our companies export more. 95% of the consumers in the global consumers live outside this country, yet less than 1% of businesses export, right? Huge disconnect, huge opportunity. More exports with our companies equal more jobs and capital investment here. So what can we do to help our companies to understand that they're global companies and that they can export? Second part to that is a foreign direct investment strategy, attracting more foreign direct investment. Really all that is what can you do with international companies who are looking to have a footprint in the United States that they can set up shop in your city. So whether that's through an M&A, whether that's through a distribution center, a factory, those sort of things. There's a lot of foreign direct investment in this town already, way more than people even know. And what can we do continue to do this? We're a long way from either coast, but we are a global community big time, and we need to own it, and we need to market that. And then the third part is that international talent. Attracting more international talent. Again, our numbers have gotten significantly better, but we need to make this a welcoming place and focus on diversity and inclusion. And if you look at both of our accelerators, there's a global component. right? And that was by design, right? So again, mentioned Brian earlier with the Global Insurance Accelerator. We called it Global Insurance Accelerator because we wanted it global, right? 18 companies gone through, 7 from outside this country. That's extraordinary to be able to recruit that and for them to move here for that session. Some of them are still here, which is very exciting as well. And so same thing with the Iowa Agritech Accelerator. We're going to be recruiting globally as well too, and hopefully we'll be able to get some global companies to come. And then when they pitch, that we call it the Global Insurance Symposium for a reason, right? We had 10 companies or 10 countries that were represented this year, speakers from across the globe. And so these are all customers. These are global companies. And same thing with Agriculture World Food Prize. We did that for a reason. World Food Prize is something that's a gem that I think is highly underappreciated in this state, but for what that has meant for our economy and for our state. And Ken Quinn and his team, they're masters at what they do. And to merge that concept with the startup community and make that, to focus that on global startups, that's by design. So we're thinking about that. If you have other ideas, we're definitely open to that. I know Drake has really doubled down both in terms of focusing on startups and also in terms of their global connectivity. We work very closely with lots of your faculty members, and it's a great resource for our community, and thanks for what you do. In terms of working with younger ages, there's a lot of interesting work going on from Central Academy to Apex, to all the things that the schools are doing, the coding academy stuff. There's a lot of work that's going on, and we try to be supportive of, and there's a lot more that needs to be done. So if you have ideas that you've seen in other cities and other regions that we can help incubate, and we can help work with our schools, work with our colleges, our community colleges, our nonprofits to continue to foster that, that's really important. So we're always open to ideas, so just let us know, and we'd be happy to incubate some new concepts too.
On that exact point, in terms of accessibility of Des Moines, do you guys have any influence over airline accessibility for businesses? One of the biggest things that I always hear from airlines is that they cannot just take a business trip in a day because it's multiple stops.
It's a great question. They always say timing is everything. My third day as CEO, that Southwest announced that they were coming to Des Moines, so that was pretty good timing. But that's made a big difference in this market. So actually, the access to the direct flights and the costs are both big issues for our businesses. I think that we've done a much better job in the last 5 years in terms of being much more competitive in terms of costs. The Southwest effect has been a big piece to that. And we're very appreciative that in our market, we just actually took Southwest on a charter to DC, and we try to support them as much as we can. We do hear that from our businesses. We work hard to try to get new direct routes as much as we can. So, have fought for the New York routes, DC routes. The new St. Louis route on Southwest is something we worked on very closely. That was a big deal for some of our bigger companies, and it's created some great new connectivity. We need a San Francisco route. We don't have that right now. We have an LA route, but it's through Allegiant, and it's not overly business friendly in terms of, it's only a few times a week, those sort of things. But it is a big issue, and what we do, just to let you know, we meet with all the major airlines every year. We go to their headquarters. In fact, this week, I believe we're meeting with United in Chicago. But we go to Atlanta to meet with Delta, we go to Dallas and meet with Southwest and American, and we partner with the Des Moines Airport. We bring Kevin Foley with us, and our economic developers make the economic development case on why we should expand routes. Kevin makes the pitch in terms of why that makes sense for the airport, and has those sort of details, and we double team those meetings, and we hit those every year. And have focus on certain routes that we're trying to expand. But if you look at the trajectory, and if you follow the business record every month, you can see the airport continues to set records for employments. It's all about numbers, right? It's like retail. You got to drive numbers. And we're to a point now where we have to build a new terminal, which is very exciting. We lobbied for that in DC this past week. It's going to be on the same site, but really, if you're to a point with a city where you need a new terminal, you're going in the right direction. We need to continue to do better, but a lot of it's all numbers, right? So it's what's your population, are people flying, what are those capacities? And so the more that we drive that demand, they're businesses, right? They have to make money. So, but we continue to try to get that in front of them, try to keep those really strong relationships with the airlines, try to recruit the low fare carriers here because that drives that supply and demand. But it is a big issue, and just wanted to let you know that we spend a lot of time focusing on that. It's a great question. Don't get asked that question a whole lot.
Thank you.
Is that it? Okay. Thanks. We'll be around most of the day today if anyone wants to chat too. So thanks for being here. Mike, thank you for your leadership. And it's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for taking the day to be here. And let's make more pies, make lots of things, and build up this ecosystem. Double and triple what we've done. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. All right. Jay Byers and Tiffany Tauscheck, thank you.